issued by the chair of the committee dealing with NG-CDF, my good friend Honorable Musa Sirma, is thoroughly underwhelming. Thoroughly underwhelming. Because we would have expected, Honorable Speaker, at the very least, to hear from the chair that this much money has since been disbursed to the constituency CDF account over and above the 10 billion shillings that we received in January. If we are to take you seriously. Remember, Mr. Speaker, that these commitments have been made before, but they have been floated. It was just in December, I think on 7th December or 6th, when we were told that by the end of the year, of December, we shall have gotten money in our accounts. It never happened. It never happened. Now, Honorable Sirma is coming here today, the 14th of February, still talking about the 10 billion that was released way back in January. Yet, we are only remaining with about 4.5 months to the end of the financial year. To the end of the financial year. And NG-CDF is not just about bursaries. You know that. It's about projects which have been planned for. Projects which are earmarked to help the people down there. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this House must put its foot down. I know that the issue of exchequer release is affecting very many other sectors, including the road sector. Right now, Mr. Speaker, I know we are anticipating the second supplementary budget. Yet there are projects which were planned for in the main budget way back in June last year that are yet to be implemented. We rushed into the first supplementary budget, now we are going to the second one, yet projects which were planned for way back as June last year are yet to be implemented as a result of lack of exchequer releases. So if there's a problem, we need to be told what is the problem. Because as far as we are concerned, the government continues to collect money every day, every second, every minute, from Kenyans, us included. We need to know, what is it that is not happening? What is it? So on this issue of NG-CDF and GAF, Mr. Speaker, I'm afraid that this House will have to put its foot down. It's something that we want to avoid, but we can't, Mr. Speaker. If only to jolt those who are responsible to do what that they are supposed to do. Because it appears that unless they are jolted, they can't do anything. The only language that these people seem to understand, Mr. Speaker, is action, positive action. Positive action. And the positive action must begin now, Mr. Speaker, if only to send a message. I don't know.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, as I conclude now.
Yes.
So we need a more categorical statement. Yes. Not those kind of things, Mr. Speaker. I'm sorry to say this. Those ones remain empty promises. And we can't go by promises anymore, Mr. Speaker. They even actually made our Speaker look so bad in the eyes of the public. How dare you make our own Speaker look bad in the eyes of the public? By continuously lying.
Order, and
this policy, this tradition of lies is now taking a new turn.
Order, and I use parliamentary language.
Okay, I withdraw. I withdraw the term lie. Yes. And I substitute with untruth. Untruth. I substitute the word untruth for lie or mislead. I'm guided.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, shamelessly misleading, I'm being told. Yes. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude that please guide us, help us, Mr. Speaker.
I'm talking about my time as member of Parliament for Gwasi and then Super South. So, Mr. Speaker, when we are talking about money being disbursed, let us look at it in a wider scale. This is affecting economic growth of the country because if you don't give money to the grassroots for development, you are slowing general economic growth of the country. If you give money towards the end of the financial year, it has implications on budget absorption. So, Mr. Speaker, finally, I want to challenge the committee, and with all due respect to my senior colleague and friend, Honorable Musa Sirma. Your committee is the worst in performance ever since I came to this parliament. Please don't take this matter lightly. It is your duty. It is not the duty of the Speaker, Mr. Speaker. It is the duty of the committee. That is why we formed that committee, to be in place to ensure that monies are disbursed together with the leadership of majority. And you find leadership of majority defending the executive when the executive is not releasing money, yet other ministries and state departments are receiving allocations, and I'm aware. So, Mr. Speaker, this matter should not be treated casually. We need money to go to the grassroots for development of our country. The country must move forward. And that can only happen if we get serious with this work. Let us not look at CDF as if it is money for members of parliament. It is not. This money belongs to the communities across the country. So this money should go there. I'm a nominated member of parliament, but I know I need money in Super South so that schools are developed. I need money there so that students get bursary. They don't come to my home every morning. Parents are coming to my home because they can't get money. So please, Mr. Speaker, the chairman should come out clearly and explain to this House what steps he's going to take to ensure that in the shortest time possible, all the disbursements are made to CDF accounts and not stories, the same stories we started hearing a year ago and the same stories we hear today. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Gilgil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, Mr. Speaker, today is Valentine's Day. There will be a lot of many empty promises in some quarters. And we are praying that Parliament is not one of them today. Because, Mr. Speaker, it is very disheartening for this Parliament to actually defend an already bad performance last year to actually mean it is good. Mr. Speaker, we have suffered, and right now, we have children in JSS. Even the money that is supposed to come through the Ministry of Education has not come. So we have children being sent home, aged 11 years, aged 12 years, because there is no infrastructure and there is no lockers in those schools, Mr. Speaker, and it is quite an unfortunate situation. And Mr. Speaker, you know, just recently we saw Treasury announce very proudly that they have released all the monies for county governments, 100%, which is about almost 400 billion, Mr. Speaker. The money that is going to CDF is a mere 44 billion, Mr. Speaker, 44 billion. And Mr. Speaker, that's a mere 10%. And the money that goes to the counties, you are not even able to tell what does what. Where does that money go, Mr. Speaker? The money that is felt in the grassroots, the money that is felt in the constituencies and in the country is CDF, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I actually think the CS Treasury owes you an apology, because they have put you in a very funny position to speak on an issue that is not yours, the committee's work, Mr. Speaker, to make a promissory note to this House, and they have not honored it, Mr. Speaker. And what we have had today is an extended promissory note, Mr. Speaker. I think it is a time that we put our foot down, Mr. Speaker. This money is not for members of parliament. This money is for our constituencies. It is for the whole country, Mr. Speaker, and the only equalizer in development that we can be able to see. So I think, the chair of CDF committee, there needs to be a bit of pulling up their socks in terms of performance. This money, this space, this speed is not acceptable. It is not working, and we are actually having children become victims and to be collateral damage in this mess, Mr. Speaker. I submit. Thank you.
Thank you. Makali Mulu.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I've been in this House for the last 12 years. I've served in 2 parliaments, and this is the 3rd one, Honorable Speaker. And I want to remind my colleagues who are chairs and who are in leadership in this House that we have seen chairs of committees in the past. We have been able to assess their performance, including chair of the CDF committee. We have seen about 3 in the past before the current one. And what I'm seeing, Honorable Speaker, I see a situation where members of this House who have been given the responsibility to lead committees and to represent fellow colleagues who are members of parliament, they behave as if they have become cabinet secretaries of the current government. So that anytime you go to television, anytime you are here, the way you address us who are your colleagues is as if you are sitting here as the Minister for Finance, as if you are sitting here for me, Honorable Speaker. I think what we are saying is this, and I want to agree with the Honorable Mbandi said. You know, for you to grow an economy, and I want to speak with an authority on this matter, for you to grow an economy, if you have no development activities, either in the rural or in the cities, you will never grow your economy. Economy grows because of the development budget. And when you look at what is happening, Honorable Speaker, it's as if this money, CDF money, goes to our pockets as members of Parliament. Far from the truth. It goes to do development. So colleagues who are in leadership, I want to urge you, please separate the executive and Parliament matters to do with financing. The budget of Parliament is less than 2% of the total budget of this country. It's about 1.02. And I wonder, as you are trying to tell us to keep on waiting and waiting, the ministries are doing their business on a serious note. So are we saying that you don't want members to support the local economies? And I agree with Wagari when she says, the only people who are working is this money, is the money which goes to the people. Governors have their money, and you can see what is happening. We all come from different counties. So please, colleagues, behave as if you are members of Parliament and protect the independence of Parliament when it comes to matters to do with functions of Parliament. I submit, Honorable Speaker.
McClap. Give him a working mic.
I think it's working now. Sit on. So, Speaker, I am shocked to the
You have
board.
no mic.
Mr. Speaker, I am shocked to the bone marrow from the information given by my neighbor, Honorable Sirma. I am shocked to my bone marrow because he read a statement until he terminated it instantly. Meaning, his neighbor here and neighbor at home, Jepkonga. So, Speaker, truthfully speaking, this is my first time in Parliament. There is a big contradiction between being a member of Parliament and being an executive. So, Speaker, if you read there, it says for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We are the people who represent the interests of the very poor, the have-nots at home, the hustlers at home, Mr. Speaker. This is the only fund that equalizes Kenya. It doesn't deserve regions of who voted for government, and it doesn't deserve regions. It serves all the people of Kenya. This is the NG-CDF and the NGAV, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this House, going forward, Mr. Speaker, before we appropriate any funds to any ministry, Mr. Speaker, the first charge going forward shall become the NG-CDF so that we can be able to sort out the problems of this country. So, Mr. Speaker, I come from a constituency that is suffering from banditry. The children are on my shoulders. I got the first 30, I dispersed it. Now there is nothing. Mr. Speaker, it is a serious matter that Njuguna Ndungu and his Treasury mandarins and my chairman here should actually put it as a priority for the nation to release this money this week so that we are able to send children to school, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are 8 months and we still have promises. I want to ask the leadership of this House. Last year, it was an extraordinary year. It was an extraordinary year because there was issues of court and CDF came late. So we cannot compare an extraordinary year and a normal year where we passed appropriation in good time. Why do other ministries receive their exchequer and yet CDF is not getting? Mr. Speaker, we must rise to the occasion and call all members of this House, regardless. Children of Kenya do not belong to Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. They are the children of the nation. They are the future. If we interfere with the future, we shall also interfere with this Parliament and we shall interfere with the nation. So, Speaker, we must rise as members and defend the people of Kenya. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Nabi Nabuera.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to add my voice on this issue. Mr. Speaker, I don't know how I want to describe that message from the executive. To the best of my knowledge, the chair CDF, the chair CDF committee of this house, this is totally embarrassing, totally unacceptable. You are putting all of our jobs on the line. Where? You are putting our jobs on the line. And my friend, you may not survive it yourself. Because, Mr. Speaker, the most heartening thing about this NG-CDF, lack of disbursement, is that the schools in Kenya, instead of receiving 50% of capitation, they received 20. So in a week or two, the schools will not be operating. The day schools will send children home. What will we do with those children? Why are we trying to kill a generation? Mr. Speaker, I want to stand here and confirm that the head of this country stood in my constituency and said the economy has improved. And if the economy has improved, where is the money of CDF? Because the economy has improved. That is the head of state. I find it totally unacceptable that the CS Treasury, who misled the Speaker of this House by making a promise that in 2 months' time we are here, the money has not come. Mr. Speaker, the best thing for this House is, one, to tell the CDF committee to go and camp in the CS Treasury's office. They should leave this House. Waende wadai pesa. Secondly, that there should be no business until there is money released to CDF. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Owen Bayer.
Thank you very much. Actually, like my brother
Musa Sirma, I'll give 2 to then you respond.
has said, that it's actually very difficult at this particular moment to defend government. And CDF cuts across both Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. But Honorable Speaker, it's also important, like my brother, Dr. The good doctor on the other side has said, Dr. Makali, the economy needs to grow, and it can only grow through development. And it is on that basis, Honorable Speaker, that I would like to say this, that at this particular point in time, in 2023, and you remember when we went to Mombasa and we had the issues, and when we were, we only had around between 10 and 14 million in our accounts, like the whip has stated. And just like it has been said, the economy has grown. Yes, because right now, we have more money than at that particular time now. If you look at the statistics that we are supposed to have 50 billion for CDF. As we speak now, we have around 9 billion that has been disbursed. The Treasury, in their communication yesterday, has said they will disburse 10 billion shillings a month. And they disbursed in January 10 billion. We are waiting for the disbursement for February, 10 billion. And as they follow up that 10 billion per month, according to their letter, by the time we get to June, they will have disbursed all the 50 billion, and every constituency will have its money. And those are facts. And that is correct. Because if we disburse 10 billion February, 10 billion March, 10 billion April, 10 billion May, 10 billion June, we will have disbursed all the money that is required to be disbursed for NG-CDF. And these are facts, and this is the reality. Today, Treasury may not be able to disburse all the money. But this letter that has come in today to Parliament is a commitment that the 10 billion, the 50 billion will be disbursed within the period for which it is required to have been disbursed. Honorable Speaker, we even know how expenditure goes in constituencies. Today, if Opio and I is given all his 157 million today, if it is in his account, will he spend it, all of it today? It's not possible. Absorption is not possible. This money must come on a formula. 10 billion every month, what can be managed? But today, if Jared Okello is given all...
Give him a minute.
1 minute. If all the money is given to him, 100+ billion today, what will he do with it? All of it. It has to be given in phases so that it is useful to the constituencies. Honorable Speaker,
Order.
I want to say this. We must be realistic even when we demand CDF. We must be realistic on the demands that we make. CDF must be paid within the financial year, and it will be paid within the financial year. I rest my case. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Atandi. Order, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that this matter is very, very serious, and I am ashamed as a member of Parliament when the Honorable Owen Bayer is rising on the floor, Honorable Speaker, to defend the Minister for Treasury, who has already lied to this House and misled this House through a communication to you. It is shameful, Honorable Speaker, and Owen Bayer, you are the reason this House is disrespected by everybody. This Parliament has no respect because of members like you. How can you stand here to defend Treasury CS, who has misled this House and disparaged the image of the Speaker?
Address your colleagues with decorum. Owen Bayer is not on the floor for discussion.
Honorable Speaker,
Talk about CDF.
Honorable Speaker, as I conclude,
Yes.
I want to say, Honorable Speaker, that in addition to CDF, the national government, the executive, has refused to disburse development expenditure which was passed in this House. There is no development that is going on in this country, Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, and every day, members of the executive are all over the country, driving in fuel guzzlers. The president is everywhere, all over the country, is launching non-existent projects. When we know very well that, Madam Honorable Speaker, we pass a budget in this House, there's no development going on. Madam Speaker, Honorable Speaker, it's a shame that we have a government that is running this country. This country actually should be closed, my Honorable Speaker, because if every day you see the president is all over the country launching non-existent development projects,
Honorable
it is a shame.
Order, and there's a point of order from a colleague here.
Honorable Speaker, I stand on relevance because I think the matters pertaining to CTF affects both sides of the House, every member of this House. And it is wrong for Honorable Atandi to discuss the President who is not in this House when it comes to matters of CDF. Please, let's stick to CDF. We discuss about how we want it to be dispersed within our constituency, and more so the statement that was read by Honorable Chair for CDF. With all due respect, Honorable Atandi, let's leave the President out of this.
Indeed, Honorable Atandi, if you listen to the statement from Musa Sirma, there was no mention of the President anywhere. Talk about CDF, how it affects your constituency, and how it should be disbursed. That is the issue on the floor.
Honorable Speaker, thank you. Honorable Speaker, what I was trying to say, Honorable Speaker, is that there's no development going on across the country. CDF included, all the projects that we passed here. We have 4 months to the end of the financial year. And if you walk across the country, there's nothing going on. Staff in ministries are just lazing around. So we have to really get serious. If we want this country to grow, it can't grow by just talking. So government side, you should stop talking and go and work, because you took over power because you had to serve the country. Yeah, that's the message I'm trying to tell you. You cannot come here and shout here and defend government when there's nothing going on. Yeah.
Today you have changed your sitting position.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Being a first-timer, I feel the name lie should apply in this parliament.
It will
for
not.
the first time.
It will not.
Reason?
Order.
Reason? Okay, I withdraw. But reason, Mr. Speaker, on 3rd of May, we had the Minister for Education, Mr. Machogu, when he came here, he told the women reps on the sanitary pads issue. On 3rd of October, I remember very well, we were told we were going to be given an answer. Till today, the allocation of sanitary pads, which is very paramount to our girls, is less than 1 billion. We are talking of less than 1 billion. This is second month our girls are in school, meaning they are not having their periods. That's why we cannot receive those essential things. As a woman, that is a cycle. You go every month. And when there is change of weather, you can go twice a month. When you eat well, it is a whole month. You can go 3 times, Mr. Speaker. Safe to you if you are pregnant, which we don't encourage our young girls at this particular time. We've not been given any answer, Mr. Speaker. Yet we are told Parliament is the house of order. It is a hallowed house. What are we? What are we, Mr. Speaker? Today is Valentine. Why are women in this house, most of us wearing black? Because women are killed. Femicide, everything. So why I stood, Mr. Speaker, is to confirm that what we are told, I don't see why we are substituting, even if it's not a parliament language, but everything, it looks like it is,
Yes,
Mr. Speaker.
order,
Thank you.
There's a point of order here. Have you finished? Donya, have you finished?
No, she has not. Mr. Speaker.
Order, Chepkonga, there is no disorder. She has finished.
No, she has not finished. She just said she has not. She has confirmed.
She's yielded the floor.
I heard, Mr. Speaker. You know you are very far from. You know you are very far from her.
Yes. Give him the mic.
Why, Mr. Speaker? I respect Honorable Donya. I would just like her to, decorum requires that you consider the sensitivity of the matter that you are contributing to. 2, we all belong to different communities that are congregated here in this assembly. Some of the things are not said when in the midst of elders, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, there are children that are watching, they are boys. Boys are not told such kind of things at an infant age. And even my culture, Mr. Speaker, and I'm talking about my culture, I'm not talking about your culture, Honorable Samsam. Your culture is different from mine. Even yourself, the one who is shouting, that culture of yours allows you to say such things, but mine does not allow. You can even see the Deputy Speaker is also on a point of order to agree with me.
You have made your point.
What are you talking about? You sit down.
You have made your point.
Honorable Speaker, I want to ask Honorable Chepkonga, who's my MP, to apologize to the women and the girls of this country. There is nothing shameful, there is nothing to hide about having periods. Because Honorable Chepkonga has a wife who had periods, who gave birth, and who got pregnant by him. Yeah, order. So please, there is nothing shameful. Order. Nothing shameful.
Order, Deputy Speaker. Order. Honorable Nguna, you are rapidly distinguishing yourself as a major heckler in this house. And it's not a very good reputation. Order, honorable members. Order. I thought you were discussing very serious business. And you are now degenerating into trivia that is not helpful. Women rep of Kilifi,
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika. Nataka kuzungumzia kuhusu pesa za ngafu ambazo ni za uwakilishi wa kike ndani ya bunge. Wabunge wanazungumza kuhusu pesa za NG-CDF peke yake. Sisi kama uwakilishi wa kike ndani ya bunge hili tuko katika dau hilo, hatujapata pesa hizi. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi Mbeyu nikiwa kwa mara ya pili ndani ya bunge hili, wanayoyafanya wabunge wa eneo bunge moja tunayafanya sisi zaidi. Kama ni kulipa bursary, kama ni kulipa pesa za full scholarship, mimi Mbeyu nafanya kule Kilifi. Kufikia saa hizi Mheshimiwa Spika, sijapata pesa zangu za project za ngafu first quarter na second quarter. Sijapata pesa za bursary. Watoto paka saa hizi ninazokuambia wamekaa kwa ofisi yangu, niliwaambia nitawalipia bursary, nitawalipia fee yao ya full scholarship kufikia last week kabla hatujafungua bunge. Akaunti yangu haijaingia pesa. Wakilishi wa kike hapa hawana pesa. Hii serikali yetu ni nini inawatakia kizazi chetu cha watoto ambao ni wakwenda shule? Tuko tukisema elimu kwanza. Mimi pale Kilifi najulikana mama lao, mama G, elimu kwanza ndani ya Kilifi. Sijaweza kutimiza ndoto yangu ya kulipia hawa watoto karo za shule. Ninaonekana mimi ni muongo. Pesa tulizungumza hapa kuhusu sodo. Mheshimiwa Spika, ukiwa hapa, Waziri Machogu akiwa hapa, milioni 470 ambao ni milioni 10 kila jimbo, ni majimbo 47. Hatujaona hizi pesa paka leo. Umeelezewa mambo ya hedhi na wasichana wa kike, wengine wanapata mara 3, mara 4, wengine mara 5. Mheshimiwa Spika, wale wanakula vizuri kwao na si aibu. Nataka kuzungumzia Mheshimiwa amesema ni aibu. Hakuna aibu ya hedhi ndani ya baba wala mama. Walio hapa ni wazazi wa watoto wa kike. Aibu ya hedhi inatoka wapi? Wao ni mabwana wa mabibi ambao wanapata hedhi. Aibu ya kuzungumzia mambo ya hedhi ndani ya bunge inatoka wapi? Mheshimiwa Spika, tunataka hizi pesa ziweze kutoka, watoto wetu waweze kwenda shule na tuweze kutimiza ndoto yetu ile ya 100% transition, watoto wa Kenya wasome. Asante Mheshimiwa.
Musa Sirma. Order, honorable members. Can you now listen to your chairman?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank all the members who have raised their concerns as concerning NG-CDF. First, I would like to reply on the issue of 1 billion for Nairobi from Beatrice Elachi. Part of that amount of 1 billion, which has been brought to CDF, has never been given a special priority. It is part of the big amount of money which have been given to the CDF. The only option now is for us to discuss with the board so that they prioritize that 1 billion for Nairobi so that it is separated as a different entity or different amount of money, which is not the normal disbursement which usually comes. Second, Mr. Speaker, is our minority leader, my good friend.
All the concerns are generic. Don't answer each member in person.
Yes.
Just make a response to the issues raised.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want also to put the fears that this committee of my committee is the worst committee. I want to tell members.
Musa Sirma.
Yes.
Answer 3 issues. Why is there a delay? When is the money being disbursed? Is there going to be any delay thereafter?
Okay.
Whether you are competent or
because
not,
I wanted to put it clear because I inherited a debt of 4.9 billion, and by the end of June last year, I had cleared all the pennies. Mr. Speaker, thank you for that. And I want to say that the National Treasury has committed to pay the 10 billion every month. And I want to take our members back to last year. Last year, the first disbursement we got of 4 billion was done in February, and another 4 billion before the end of February. That made a total of 8 billion by end of February. And Mr. Speaker, by the end of June, including the debt of 4.9 billion, were all paid. And I'm sure members whom we have been talking together last year, those who managed to interact with me, most of them were congratulating me for doing a good job. I don't know what changed. Because they were saying you have done a good job. What has
Give him the mic. Give him the mic.
I want you to trust me, members, because I never let you down last year, and I will still do the same this year, because it is about disbursement, and I promise you, by end of February, you have 20 billion shillings in your account. And the other of March, that makes 30 billion, and in April, you will have 40 billion, and in May, you will have 50 billion, and the balance of 7 billion will be paid in June. So it is as easy as that. Those are the mathematics which are there. So, Mr. Speaker, all this, it is all about trust. If you trusted me last year, you have a chance of trusting me this year. So I want to ask members, as we move forward, let us move with one spirit, that we have the hope that the future is bright, and our children will get their fees before the end of this month, and therefore we should be able to agree on the issues which we have put forward, and the plans which have been put by the government. Treasury are going to release that money. So, Mr. Speaker, we have commitment letters which we are working with, and therefore let us not refer to the commitment letters which were addressed before. Today we got a commitment, a firm commitment, and I have put it before you members, that you can read that commitment and hold me to it. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to stop at that.
Honorable members, honorable members, thank you, Musa Sirma. As you know, the chair has no dog in this fight. It is your chair whom you elected who has given you an assurance. Let's give him the benefit of doubt. And I will also, as the leader of the House, as your speaker, exert some soft pressure elsewhere to see if the money can be forthcoming as quickly as possible. Let's now proceed to back to order number 6 and invite Esther Passaris. I had approved a motion of adjournment for you to move, to give notice of your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to the Standing Order number 33-1, I rise to seek leave for adjournment of the House to discuss a definite matter of urgent national importance in regard to rising femicide in the country. Article 26 of the Constitution provides that every person has the right to life. This right is inalienable and accrues to every person regardless of age, gender, and social status. Sadly, there have been increasing cases of femicide and violence targeting women and girls in Kenya.
Can you give the member some water?
And especially Nairobi County. This is disheartening and goes against the provisions of the law and basic human rights. Honorable Speaker, femicide is not just a crime, but a gendered crime and a violation of human rights. It is noted that the recent cases of femicide are not isolated incidents, but symptoms of a broader issue requiring urgent national solutions. Honorable Speaker, it is against this background that I seek leave for the adjournment of the House to discuss this matter of national concern with a view to exploring possible ways of curbing the widespread cases of femicide. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Have the requisite support. Thank you. Order. You have the requisite numbers. You may take your seats, honorable members. Order. Honorable Passaris. Order. Order, members. Members on their feet, take your seats. Order. Order, Owen. Order. Order. Honorable Passaris, you have the requisite numbers to support your motion of adjournment, and I direct that you will move your motion after order number 14 or at 5, whichever comes earlier. And I'll allocate it 2 hours for debate. Next order.
Order number 8, procedural motion, limitation of debate on sessional papers.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, session paper. That pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee, if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee, and that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the Honorable Jamatia to second.
Mr. Speaker, I second. Thank you.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order. Kisii Women Rep, take your seats. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 2.5 hours, with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant committee if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And that 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. I now put the question. Leah, take your seat. Take your seat. I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on any sessional paper shall be limited as follows: a maximum of 2.5 hours with not more than 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairperson of the relevant committee if the sessional paper is not moved by the chairperson of the relevant committee. And at 10 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, procedural motion, limitation on debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the motion that pursuant to the provision Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices be limited as follows. A maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying. A maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party and leader of the minority party in that order. Honorable Speaker, I request the women rep for Kericho to second.
Who is
women rep for
seconding? Kemei.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I second.
Order, Honorable McClap. Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices be limited as follows. A maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving, 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party in that order. I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on reports of constitutional commissions and independent offices be limited as follows. A maximum of 4 hours with not more than 30 minutes for the mover in moving, and 10 minutes in replying, a maximum of 30 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant committee, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority be accorded to the chairperson of the relevant committee, the leader of the majority party, and the leader of the minority party in that order. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, procedural motion, limitation on debate on the annual estimates and committee of supply.
Next order.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move the following motion that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on Budget Estimates contemplated under Standing Order 239 and 240 be limited as follows. A, 1, general supply debate. A maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying, a maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees, and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and the priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committee in the order that they appear in the second schedule to standing orders. And 2, committee of supply, a maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes or programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I ask the Honorable Pokose to second.
Honorable Speaker, I second.
Order, honorable members. I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on Budget Estimates contemplated under Standing Orders 239 and 240 be limited as follows. 1. General supply debate. A maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying. A maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking, except the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each, and that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committees in the order that they appear in the second schedule on the standing orders. 2, Committee of Supply. A maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes and programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Yes, Honorable Milemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and sorry, Honorable Bokose. I think I have some input on this, and I'm not opposed to what has been read and proposed. However, those in charge of those committees that are charged with the responsibility of budget, issues of supply, and so on and so forth, should bring those reports early enough in the House, Honorable Speaker, so that they are actually given enough time for discussion. I remember in the last session, members moved too fast, and by the time they were passing the so-said proposals, later on, that's how members came to you, Honorable Speaker, asking for the CS for transport to come and explain certain things. I think it needs to be given enough time, and those chairmen bring those reports on time so that members and the country understand exactly what we are doing, especially on that issue. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Undo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I just to join now echo the sentiments of my colleague, Honorable Mwalimu. Honorable Speaker, Parliament is a house of debate, and more so is given the task of budget making. In the last session of the last year, Honorable Speaker, we have had this tendency of members rising on certain standing order to curtail debate, to an extent that many of the young MPs and the new MPs have not mastered the art and the process and the stages involved in budget making. I do want to urge you, and I want to urge the majority leader and the leadership on that side, and the committee members and any member who's in the speaker's panel. Let us do justice to the people of Kenya. Let's allow elaborate and adequate debate on any matters that come before this House. Honorable Speaker, there isn't a very good narrative about Parliament outside there. And on many occasions you have been forced to respond to very snide and bad comments about Parliament. It's time now, we have the opportunity, we have the time to right the wrongs. And I want to urge the leadership on the majority side, allow debate to flourish so that Kenyans can see and feel their Parliament at work. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Undo. Honorable members, before I put the question, allow me to acknowledge in the Speaker's gallery Othaya Boys School, I believe, from Othaya constituency in Nyeri. On my own behalf and on your behalf, I welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. I now put the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97-1, this House orders that each speech in a debate on the report of the Budget and the Appropriations Committee on Budget Estimates Contemplated understanding orders 239 and 240 will be limited as follows. General supply debate, a maximum of 3 sitting days with 30 minutes for the mover in moving and 15 minutes in replying. A maximum of 15 minutes for each of the chairpersons of the departmental committees and a maximum of 10 minutes for any other member speaking except that the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, who shall be limited to a maximum of 15 minutes each. And that priority in speaking be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the respective chairpersons of the departmental committees in the order that they appear in the second schedule to the standing orders. And 2, the Committee of Supply, a maximum of 6 sitting days for the consideration of the proposed allocations to the respective votes and programs in the order specified in the schedule submitted by the Budget and Appropriations Committee. Thank you. Sorry, as members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable Buyer and the Chair of Budget, you've heard the sentiments of members. Bring the reports early for members to be able to go through. And we assure you, Honorable Undo, that the Chair does not truncate debate. It's entirely up to the House. When the House, through any member, moves a closure, the only avenue available to the Chair is to put it to the House. If the House says truncate the debate, it's truncated. If you reject it, you go on. So always, if you feel there's inadequacy of debate, marshal your members to reject any truncating of debates. Thank you. Next order.
Order number 11, procedural motion. Limitation on debate on consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would like to encourage first Honorable Oundo that we agreed in the morning to follow your guidance on candor and banter. Yes. And therefore, we will go by that to ensure that debate flourishes in this chamber and that members can see and your constituents can see that you're doing what they elected you to do. So we promise that this side we will not truncate debate. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the following motion that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 146, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows. A maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes with not more than 15 minutes for the mover in moving, 15 minutes for the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes of any other member speaking, including the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party, if the bill is not party-sponsored, and that 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, I request the Honorable Junaid Mohammed to second.
Mr. Speaker, I stand to second, but I wanted to say also that, Mr. Speaker, the 5 minutes, normally, because of the interest that is shown always by members in the debate, so normally sometimes reduced to 3 minutes, 2 minutes. So I know it's because of the interest, not because of the speaker, that's shown by many members who want to speak to it. But let's see if we can increase the time on that bill, the time of debating, the period that the bill still stays in the House for debating. But otherwise, I second, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Junaid, before I propose the question, you know, in comparable jurisdictions, you as the whips, when you have such technical debates on motions such as budget, appropriations, is within your competence as the whips to actually give the speaker a few of your preferred sharpshooters who can articulate issues. The leader of majority can approach the chair and say, on this particular issue, our best economists to articulate the issues include so and so, so and so. We'll still give others, but we also abide by your opinions as whips. On your side also, if you have people who have better knowledge and schooling in economics, in accounts, and in matters relating to budget, the chairs will always give you priority to give 1 or 2, 3 well-schooled members who can then give better opinions to the House to inform debate. So it's entirely up to you also to decide how you assist the chair, so that once you have all those that you prefer, and don't bring lists of your friends, bring lists of people who add value to debate. Then thereafter, we can limit to 2 minutes to each other member to complement what your sharpshooters have already placed on the floor. This is done in the House of Commons, everywhere in Australia, in Canada, in the entire Commonwealth jurisdiction. So it's not strange to this country. I've not proposed the question. I was just guiding Honorable Junet in his lamentation. Honorable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 971, the House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 146, consideration of Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, be limited as follows. A maximum of 1 hour and 30 minutes with not more than 15 minutes for the mover and moving, 15 minutes for the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 5 minutes for any other member speaking, and the leader of the minority party if the bill is not party-sponsored, and that 5 minutes before the expiry of the time, the mover shall be called upon to reply, and further, that the priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Jose and KJ, you'll follow.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I just wanted to remind my colleagues, Honorable Undo, that as much as the House is for debate, but we have a legislative role that we must also play. That at various stages, there is a bill when it is maybe in the second reading where we need to be able to debate it. Then you have a stage where you have the committee of the whole House when we are supposed to be legislating. So we should also be able to understand and give preference in as far as at times when when we move under Standing Order 95, that the mover be called to reply, or that kind of thing, that to bring the debate to an end. Because we also want to be able to make that law into place. And at times, even time might be running out. So there are all many other considerations. And we'll ask that both our sides, we are able to listen to each other, we are able to debate, and be able to defend our positions. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
KJ.
Mr. Speaker, I truly thank you, and I take this opportunity to wish you a Happy New Year, and also congratulate you and the Clerk of the National Assembly for amazing work that happened in this Parliament during the recess. That said, Mr. Speaker, I'm standing to support this procedural motion because this is one of the opportunities that this House gets to showcase its prowess, even against its sister chamber, which is the Senate, where you served, Mr. Speaker. Whenever Senate returns some amendments to this House, these debates are normally so critical, Mr. Speaker, because at that point, this House is able to showcase its level of debate, its level of transaction of business, and able to even showcase itself as the
consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2, upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendment to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3. Should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, Committal of Bills to Committees and Public Participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4. Should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provision of Section 2 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. And 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Honorable Speaker, I think this is very clear. It concerns issues that are brought to the House when we're in recess or we are on any other, when the House is not sitting. And therefore, the procedure is laid down very, very clearly. And I would like to request the Honorable Junet Mohammed, the whip, long-serving whip of the minority, to second.
Mr. Speaker, as I second, I wanted to bring to your attention, Mr. Speaker, this procedural motion was introduced to this House, I think the year 2014 or 15, the House here. And Mr. Speaker, it was basically to make the work of the executive easy. Because that time, Mr. Speaker, as you remember, as a long-serving member of Parliament, you know that vetting of appointments never used to happen before the new constitution came into place. So a time arose when appointments were made when we are either in short recess or long recess or those kind of things. Then the executive felt that Parliament is wasting their time. So they persuaded Parliament to do this kind of procedural motion. But Mr. Speaker, as you know very well, we also have the provision in the standing order of a special sitting. If something is so important and so urgent, we have a provision in the standing order that says the House can be reconvened by the Speaker. So if there are 1 or 2 appointments that are of important and urgent in nature, there is no harm in reconvening the House to come and sit and deliver. Because the issue of appointments coming through the Speaker and the Speaker doing it in communication, Mr. Speaker, doing the communication on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was saying the issue of the appointment.
I was listening, go on.
Yeah, coming through the Speaker and the communications being made on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, carries its own weight, Mr. Speaker. Then when those documents and papers are just committed to committees silently, and then later we come, Mr. Speaker, in spite of all those lamentations, I second.
Thank you, Honorable Junet. It's within your competence to revisit the standing orders and revert to whatever you prefer. But for now, I propose the question that notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveyance of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Order 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication, and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210-2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the third session, 1, upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2. Upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendments to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House on resumption. 3. Should a bill be published during the said period, or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill, and following a determination that such bill is of priority, forthwith refer such a bill to the relevant committee for consideration, pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 127, Committal of Bills to Committees and Public Participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith, or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4. Should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the statutory instrument is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration, and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provision of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act number 3 of 2013. And 5, should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following the determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. Robert Mbui.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this procedural motion, but I wanted to point out one matter here on part 4, the one on statutory instruments. Mr. Speaker, it's important to note that regulatory making authorities that make regulations pursuant to the bills that we pass in the House, sometimes within the statutory instruments, within the gazettement, may even be imposing charges on the general population. And so I've noticed it has been a tendency sometimes for the executive to wait just before the House goes on the recess is when they publish some of these very, I would say, punitive regulations. And Mr. Speaker, the danger we would face is that if we go on a recess of 2 months, is that then this, the imposition of these levies or fees would proceed, because the minute the gazettement takes place, already the regulations become law. Until the Committee on Delegated Legislation of the House is seized of the matter and deliberates on it, and in case the committee decides that they are too punitive and have to be annulled, then they would have to wait until the House sits. That's when they would present them. So I feel that everything else makes a lot of sense, but we may also be careful that we don't now allow the executive to make laws, collect taxes for, or levies for 2 months, and then a House makes a decision when already, you can say the horses have bolted. So I support, but I think it's important to figure out how to handle that part on statutory instruments. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Owen?
Honorable Speaker, I think it's what Honorable Mbui has raised is very important. And I think we saw a flagrant of statutory instruments being put out there during the long recess. And I think as a House we need to, because nobody can make law apart from Parliament, and we think we need to put that. But having said that, I think we have a great opportunity because the Statutory Law Amendment Bill is coming in. I think it will be read first reading today without any debate. But it's important that those things are captured so that we can actually stamp our authority in terms of lawmaking as Parliament. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
When by the leadership, you should advise all government departments, ministries, and statutory bodies that they have no capacity to turn anything into law until and unless it has passed through this House. Even this number 4 simply says once it comes here, it still remains a proposal until it's processed through the committee, brought to the floor, and adopted by the House. That's when it becomes a legal instrument with a force of law. And besides that, if then there are any other issues like taxation, levies, and whatever, the committees must do their work and sieve them out. I can now put the question. Honorable members, I now put the question that notwithstanding the provision of Standing Order 41 and 42 relating to conveying of messages from the Senate and from the President or the National Executive, Standing Orders 120, 122, and 126 relating to publication, procedure upon publication and first reading of bills, and Standing Order 210, 2 relating to tabling of statutory instruments, this House orders that during the short and long recess of the third session, 1. Upon receipt of any message from the Senate or upon receipt of any name of a person nominated for appointment to a state or public office from the President or any other office in the National Executive, the Speaker shall forthwith refer such message to the relevant committee for consideration without having to recall the House and report such fact to the House on resumption. 2. Upon receipt of any message relating to the Senate's amendment to a bill originating in the National Assembly, the Speaker shall forthwith refer the schedule of the Senate amendments to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 145, Senate amendments to bills originating in the National Assembly, and report such fact to the House upon resumption. 3. Should a bill be published during the said period or a published bill become due for first reading, the Speaker shall, upon lapse of at least 3 days following the publication of the bill and following a determination that such bill is a priority, forthwith refer such a bill to the relevant committee for consideration pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 127, Committal of Bills to Committees and Public Participation, and cause the bill to be read a first time upon its next sitting, and the second reading may be taken forthwith or on such other day as the House Business Committee may determine. 4. Should any statutory instruments be transmitted for tabling before the House during the period, the Speaker shall, following the determination that the statutory instruments is of priority, forthwith refer the statutory instrument to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the statutory instrument to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting in accordance with the provisions of Section 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act No. 3 of 2013. And 5. Should any paper be transmitted for tabling before the House, the Speaker shall, following a determination that the paper is of priority, forthwith refer the paper to the relevant committee for consideration and cause the paper to be tabled in the House upon its next sitting. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 13, procedural motion, limitation on debate on legislative proposals to amend the Constitution.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147A and B, consideration of the legislative proposal to amend the Constitution be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant department committees, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party and the chairpersons of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Honorable Speaker, I request that I ask Dr. Mutunga to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, constitutional amendment is a very key issue in this country, and I believe the way the time has been apportioned is crucial because it will allow most of the members to contribute. Therefore, I second.
Honourable members, I now propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 97.1, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 114 7AB, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. Now put the question. Before I put the question, honorable members, allow me to acknowledge in the speaker's gallery, seated in the upper echelon, I believe these are students from PCEA Mitahato Secondary School, Githunguri, Kiambu. On my behalf and on behalf of the House, I welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. I now put the question, which is that, pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 971, this House orders that each speech in the general debate contemplated under Standing Order 1147AB, consideration of a legislative proposal to amend the Constitution, be limited as follows. A maximum of 20 minutes for the mover in moving and 10 minutes in replying, 15 minutes for the leader of the majority party and the leader of the minority party if the proposal is not party-sponsored, members with similar or related proposals and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee, and 10 minutes for any other member speaking, and further that priority in speaking shall be accorded to the leader of the majority party, the leader of the minority party, and the chairperson of the relevant departmental committee in that order. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 14, the Statutory Instruments Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2024, first reading. A bill for an act of Parliament to amend the Statutory Instruments Act.
Next order. Esther Passaris, we are now at order 14. I now give you the opportunity to move your motion of adjournment. I've allocated it 2 hours, which means you will, if you have enough support, it will go on up to 6:15. Thereafter, we'll go on to the next order. So you may move your motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, before I move the motion, can I please ask the House to stand up for a moment of silence for the over 500 women who have died as a result of femicide? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, more and more cases of femicide are being reported in Kenya, with at least 500 women being murdered in Kenya in a span of 6 years. In January 2024 alone, over 10 cases of femicide were reported, and not all perpetrators have been brought to account yet. The failure by the government to hold the perpetrators accountable has led to a culture of impunity and impedes deterrence. Femicide violates Kenya's women's fundamental constitutional and human rights to life and the freedom from violence. The government of Kenya, through the State Department of Gender and Affirmative Action, must address the discriminatory norms that underpin such violence and send a clear message that femicide will not be tolerated. Honorable Speaker, it is incumbent on the government of Kenya to implement Articles 26 and 29 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010. the protocols to the Africa Charter on Human and People's Rights and on the Rights of Women in Africa, Maputo Protocol, and the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women to ensure women and girls are safe and free from all forms of gender-based violence. Honorable Speaker, while Kenya government agencies have made various commitments and pledges, few have been followed by concrete action that end the surge of femicide in the country. Kenyan members of parliament are calling on key actors to prioritize investigation and prosecution of cases of gender-based violence. We also call on the Director of Criminal Prosecution to keep the public updated on the ongoing probe and share information on perpetrators who have been arrested. The judiciary must also expedite the hearing and discrimination of the cases to ensure access to justice for survivors of attempted suicide. Honorable Speaker, therefore, as the world marks Valentine's Day today, women parliamentarians join other human rights organizations in the Dark Valentine campaign in the remembrance of all the lives lost as a result of femicide. As at 14th February 2024 this year, lost 13 beautiful souls to femicide. The number 13 is not just statistics. These are our daughters, sisters, mothers, and more importantly, human beings killed, murdered, and butchered in the most inhumane way. Starlet Wahu, age 26, location South B, Nairobi, date of mother, January 3rd. Harriet Mora, location Katoloni, Machakos, date of murder, January 8th. Stella Odongo, age 21, location Bondo, Siaya, date of mother, January 11th. Bridget Ochieng, location Nyakach, Kisumu, date of murder, January 22nd. Sarah Wairuru, age 47, location Kiruga Nyeri, date of murder, January 18th. Sarah, age 45, location Kilai, Narok, date of murder, January. Asumta Wanjiru, age 30, location Nyandarua, date of murder, January 16th. Rita Waini, age 20, location Roysambu, Nairobi, date of murder, January 14th. Nervin Museti, age 28, location Langata, Nairobi, date of murder, January 11th. Grace Wangari, age 24, location Githurai, Kiambu, date of murder, January 21st. Queen, age 25, location Magarini, Kilifi, date of murder, January 14th. Rachel Wambui Joroge, age 55, location Gatundu, Kiambu, date of murder, January 21st. Maureen Achieng, location Bondo, Siaya, date of murder, January 3rd. Honorable Speaker, on 27 January 2024, we held an annual national protest demanding an end to this scourge. To put this into perspective, statistics show that out of 546 deaths by femicide, in the recent years, 241 of the perpetrators were husbands, 130 boyfriends. Women are being killed, murdered, and butchered by people they at first instant thought they were safe with. Honorable Speaker, the case of Kevin Kangethe, who murdered his girlfriend in the USA and left USA for Kenya, got traced in Kenya, was arrested and taken to the police station. At the police station, he escaped and has now been rearrested. Again, clearly points to the lack of seriousness in the handling of femicide perpetrators. A society is judged by how it treats the marginalized and most vulnerable. Women in this country undergo many challenges, and it is imperative and we demand that women must be treated right. We are unapologetically demanding that women's dignity must be upheld and women's lives in the country matter. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, we therefore demand that the Ministry of Interior issues a status report on all cases of femicide and investigations that have been concluded and the perpetrators who have faced the law in court. That the President makes a declaration issued on violence against women and femicide as a national crisis. that an executive order be issued on zero tolerance to violence against women and femicide, that all political parties initiate disciplinary action against its members who make misogynistic statements and statements supporting and inciting and encouraging violence against women and femicide, as well as those accused of the same. That there may be responsible and less sensational reporting from media houses on femicide and violence against women. Viewer discretion in the release of unnecessary violent details and images must be adhered to. We demand dignity even in death for victims of femicide. We encourage media houses to engage feminist experts to help them improve reporting practices. Women are more than half of their viewership. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And with that, I would like now to call the Honorable South MP, Carole Omondi, to second the motion. Thank you.
I thought members are simply debating on the points, but you may proceed, Carole Omondi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I think I stand to contribute to this motion for the simple fact that men should also be counted at this particular time. If we leave it purely to our sister colleagues, it would look like this nation, the males don't care. Honorable Speaker, the distinction between femicide and the other typical acts of violence against women is the gender content, where a crime is committed against a particular woman or women because of gender considerations by the perpetrator of those violent acts. And it is important that we understand where this comes from so that probably we address it in a very detailed manner. I think it is more a factor of patriarchy. If you study the gender that constitutes femicide, the violence that constitutes femicide, it is, as my sister Esther said, mainly by those closest and dearest to the victims, the in-laws, the husbands, their boyfriends, sometimes their brothers, when there are disputes within the family. And this is a function of patriarchy. And we live in societies that, though our constitution recognizes our culture and Article 11 as the cumulative civilization that we have built over the years, we still have cultural norms and practices that are the same constitution recognizes as repugnant to justice and morality. We have concentrated power in the hands of men. We have built cultural institutions that exclude women in decision making. We have promoted cultural practices and norms that give dominance of men the standing that we have. And we've excluded our women from means of economic empowerment, tools that they can use to give themselves freedom, land, education, and the rest of them. I think this is the genesis of some of these very grotesque acts we see against our women. And I think it is important that we come together as a nation, be it in families, in churches, in schools, and preach against cultural norms that are used to downgrade, to depress, to oppress, to suppress our women. And I think we should not be shy about it, whether we are uncomfortable with those truths, but it is patriarchy that is promoting some of these grotesque acts that we have. I would also like to urge this House that we come together and find a way of working on a bipartisan manner so as to put certain mechanisms. We should have a national register of all persons who have been convicted of gender-based violence crimes. And that should be the first point of call. It should give us a warning, as a signal, as to who is likely to commit a femicide. We should also go and strengthen international cooperation. The case of this gentleman who has recently been rearrested and is awaiting deportation to America clearly demonstrates. And those of you who are old enough, you will remember in the old days how a lot of our women were killed by soldiers, foreign soldiers who used to come and take holiday in Mombasa. They used to just murder them and get away with it. And I think we need to strengthen international cooperation mechanisms to deal with this. At this particular time, we need to call upon the DCI, the National Police Service, to refocus the gender-based violence desks, also to strengthen their capacity to investigate cases of femicide, and also the office of the DPP to prosecute these cases without delay. Yeah, I think many of them take too long, many of them go unpunished, and people are beginning to develop a sense of impunity. And the judiciary also to come out very, very strongly and support all efforts in this particular direction. With those few remarks, I support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Leah Sankaire.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Passaris, for bringing that motion into the floor of the House. And Madam Speaker, I think it's about time we started talking about femicide, not as a women issue, but an issue of national importance. Madam Speaker, it is sad when you hear of the statistics of the girls that have so far lost their lives in the triangle of love. And Madam Speaker, it will be wrong for us to be quiet in the National Assembly. It is good for us to raise our voices and ask very critical questions surrounding the mysterious deaths of our girls. Madam Speaker, I am also requesting that the issues of femicide and this issue stops being an issue of women. Let us make it an issue of the whole society. These girls are being killed, and you know the people that are killing them are also our children. And so it's about time that we started addressing this issue holistically. And the first and foremost thing that I would like to speak about is on the issue of reporting. Madam Speaker, it is sad that we've heard of the statistics today. We have seen the number of children that has lost their lives, but unfortunately, none of the perpetrators has been brought to books. Every single day and every day, we just hear of us being told that we are looking for the perpetrators, we will bring them into books, and Madam Speaker, justice delayed is justice denied. It is sad that we are burying our children and burying these beautiful girls whose their future was actually bright, and you're burying them, and the saddest thing, Madam Speaker, is that we are burying them and there is no perpetrator that is brought into books. It is heartening to the families, it is heartening to the society to see your child going down, but the person that committed that crime is still out there. Madam Speaker, with the trend that is with the current trend that is going on, we may be having serial killers going around the country and around the villages. Because if you kill someone today, they are buried and no action is taken. You kill another one tomorrow, you will have the power to do so because nobody follows you up. And so we want to call upon the Cabinet Secretary for Interior and Coordination of National Government, Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, the Inspector General, IG, the Director of Public Prosecution, to issue a statement on these pertinent issues that we are raising today. Madam Speaker, I was hoping that in the last 1 week or last 2 weeks, we would have had people arraigned in court. But unfortunately, there is no one that has been arraigned in court. They keep telling us that they are carrying out investigations. Some of these cases, Madam Speaker, does not require rocket science to determine who actually committed them. And so we call upon them to issue statements. We call upon them to join hands with the female members of the National Assembly and the men here today supporting us in this issue of femicide. Madam Speaker, the issue of security is a fundamental right to every Kenyan. And it is wrong for us women to walk around feeling insecure. As much as we have responsibility of taking care of security within ourselves, but it's a right to every Kenyan to enjoy security. When it comes to reporting, Madam Speaker, it is so sad that every time these people go and report the cases, they are asked several questions and you're left wondering, is there really a right to security in this country? Madam Speaker, when you walk into a hospital today and you're sick, you go and seek medical attention. I don't think the doctor would ask you why you're sick of malaria.
I don't think the doctor would ask you why you contracted this disease. But it's unfortunate that some of these perpetrators has been reported once, not twice, not thrice, but nothing has happened. We want to ask that from today, let reporting be taken as important as any other issue in this country. When you go to report, you have the right to report. You are not asked what hour of the night you are out, what kind of dressing you are dressed on, because men should also be cultured enough to know that even when women dress, they do not dress for them. It is their dress, their choice.
Let her complete her sentence. She's the chairperson of KEWOP.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And so I'm concluding by saying, let us have security reporting desks be also friendly to women, because some women are raped, and every time they go to report, they're asked what kind of dress they are wearing, they're asked what hour of the night they were raped. Those are irrelevant questions, Madam Speaker. I think it's about time that we allow the women to report on these cases, because that is what is making the perpetrators take advantage of them. We also want to ask the Cabinet Secretary to make sure that in these reporting desks, they have educated officers who knows how to handle the issues of women. Some of these issues are so delicate. Some of these issues are heartbreaking. And so when you go and report, and the first question you are asked is how you were dressed, Madam Speaker, it is like denying the person the justice that they are seeking in that quota. And with that, Madam Speaker, I fully support this debate, and I asked our fellow colleagues and everyone in this House to rise up and let us stand against femicide. It may be happening to women, but remember you're a parent, remember you're a father, remember that these children belong to us, and so we need to make sure that our children in this country are secure. And not only children, even women, because gender-based violence is on the rise. We are also saying that gender-based violence, we are not just talking about femicide. We have so many other forms of gender violence to women. Even cyberbullying is a form of gender violence to women. And we must stand up and talk about them. We must give women secure platforms to operate from. We must make sure that the women of this country feel secure. We must make sure that our children feel secure. And we must also make sure that there is freedom in loving, and there is freedom in exercising your right to love. And so, Madam Speaker, thank you very much. And I hope that everybody in this House will stand with us today. We are all dressed up in black because we are celebrating a dark Valentine where love is no longer love, it has become a deathbed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable members, if I just seek your indulgence to allow the chairperson of the Finance Committee, we interrupt the session, allow him to lay some urgent papers, and then we shall continue back on this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House today, Wednesday, the 14th of February, 2024. The report on the Joint Committee on the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning, and that of Housing, Urban Planning and Public Works on its consideration of the Affordable Housing Bill, National Assembly Bill number 75 of 2023. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Lomboko Melema, member for Emuhaya. And if you can make your statements brief so that more members, as many members as possible, can be able to speak
Honorable Speaker,
on this matter of national importance.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'll be very brief on behalf of myself and the people of Emuhaya. Let me stand with the leadership and also with all the women and girls who lost their life. It has been very sad, and especially January, Honorable Speaker, where we lost more than 10 cases were reported of women and girls who were killed. Let me thank Honorable Pasaris for bringing this matter to the House so that we may pronounce ourselves on the issues concerning femicide and disabuse of our women. This matter, Honorable Speaker, does not only concern the women of this country, but concerns the family, the men, and every member of the society in Kenya. that we are doing very badly according to statistics as we were given. The number of femicide cases are rising, and in the world they have gone to 48,000. In Kenya it's more than 500. The figures are doing very badly insofar as Kenya is concerned. I would want to ask all those who are institutions, not only political parties as we have been told, but those who are in government offices, those who are in organizations, including Parliament itself, to pronounce itself on a statement of discrediting and condemning femicide in this country. A sad case which I watched during the holidays when we were under recess was the girl who was beheaded. And when we did our own walk around, we realized that that was a girl from a very poor family, a family of teachers in somewhere around Makueni and Ukambani land. And she was simply deceived because she thought she was dealing with a love, somebody who loved her. Unfortunately, the person was not a good person. Honorable Speaker, I say that we need to demystify sexuality and sex so that issues of love, dating, and everything that concerns that is demystified so that it's not secretive, because most of the people who are doing this are hiding in the secrecy of these issues. In Europe and other countries, all those online datings are actually accessed to, and it's really reachable to know who is doing what every time. So without going to any much ado, Honorable Speaker, I stand with the women of this country, the girls of this country, the society that is determined to have good morals and respect the girl child and the women. Thank you.
The Honorable Lillian Gogo, member for Ruangwe.
I thank you so much, Honorable Speaker, and I salute you. I've not seen you in the new year. Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I rise to give my voice to this matter that is of serious concern to this country. It is a global matter. Femicide is not a new term. It has been there for as long as mankind has existed. And Honorable Speaker, it saddens my heart. It saddens my heart that what is intended by the natural law to benefit human beings is used to the contrary, to the extent that it causes death. The relationship, Honorable Speaker, between a man and a woman is noble. And it is from this that we have the bearing, we bear children. God has made it that it is from the relationship between a man and a woman, other than the innovation of science, that we can have children. And a man would entice a woman to come to them, and a woman would agree and they meet. It is sad that it's from this that we have had the death of very many women and girls come up, Honorable Speaker. And as a house this afternoon, I want to thank my sister, the Honorable Pasaris, for bringing up this particular motion of adjournment in the House so that we can talk about it as people's representatives. It bewilders me, Honorable Speaker. I honestly don't understand how somebody would strangle a woman who has gone to just give themselves up to them to enjoy themselves. And to make it sad, Honorable Speaker, they do this after sleeping with them. You sleep with them, and once you have had your fun, you kill them. I don't understand. Earlier it was being debated that they were being killed probably after they have been given some money or whatever is of some sort. But their eyes are gouged out, Honorable Speaker. Their breasts are extracted, Honorable Speaker. Their private parts are removed, Honorable Speaker. What would make a man, a normal person, behave like that if they are not criminals? What would make a normal human being want to do anything of that kind to a fellow human being if they are not criminals, Honorable Speaker? And it is not only for purposes of deriving their own negative pleasure. These are beasts who exist in clothes of human beings, and they must be hunted for who they are. But we also have to come up, Honorable Speaker, with very stringent measures to curtail feminism, especially in our circles. Honorable Speaker, as I speak, I have a specific widow in Gangre village, in Gemso Rikachiena, in Rangwe constituency. She has not even been buried. This lady was gang raped, murdered, dragged into her own house to give an imprint that she died in her own house. And as if that is not enough, there was an attempted cover-up. A question that I'm going to ask the concerned CS later on, seeking an answer to it by the area chief. I would want, as a people's representative, to know this, Honorable Speaker. Who killed Mama in Gangre? And as I mourn with other women who have gone through femicide in this country, femicide must come to an end in Kenya in totality. I stand with women of this country. I thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Very well. Let me give this first chance as I come into to the Deputy Speaker to speak on this matter, because she also has another business to undertake.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity to lend my voice to this very important subject. I wish to thank the chairperson of Kewopa, the Honorable Member for Kajiado, Honorable Lea Sankaire, and the Honorable Member for Nairobi County, Esther Passaris, for ensuring that this matter comes to the House. This challenge has been with us. It's only that recently it has only received much more attention than it has done before. Many women have been killed in our faces. And if you look back, we have been very slow in speaking out. And it's at this time we must not relent, and we must continue to speak about it. And I commend the members of the National Assembly for making this commitment. If you recall, there was the lady called Chelelek, who was a musician from Kericho County, who was killed by her husband, who later confessed, who was a police officer. If you remember back, we had Agnes Tirop, a world champion, who was killed by her spouse or boyfriend in Iten, and who also, the person has been arraigned, but not much was said about it. Thereafter, in the same year that Agnes Tirop was killed, 2 other women athletes were also killed. More recently, we have had Edith Muthoni, who was also killed in the athletics camps, again by a boyfriend. We also had Damaris Mutua, also a world champion, who was also killed. So these killings have been with us, and we have just not spoken. So Honorable Esther Passaris, you have named the list of recent ones, but this goes back as far back as 7 years ago. And we are not talking about people who are unknown. These are world champions. Agnes Tirop represented us in the World Championships in Tokyo, and a few weeks later she was killed. But today, it has not received the attention it does. We don't see the media houses writing the story and putting it on the headlines. Because part of the failings is also with the media. If the media put this on the headlines every single day, it would get the attention it deserves. If the television stations put it on the headline news, it would get the attention it deserves. There has been no real consequences for killing women. There are no consequences for killing women. If we make the consequences sufficient and high enough and bring it to a much higher attention, to the extent that when someone knows that will not only affect them but also affect their families, then maybe they will think twice about it. It has been normalized that people can speak negatively about women and get away with it. We saw that in the statements that were made against Honorable Kawira. That was rape and sexual assault, only that it was verbal. And we actually thought it was funny. We must begin to interrogate our conscience as a country. And with those few remarks, I support this particular motion with all my soul and all my spirit. Thank you, Honorable Pasaris.
Very well. The leader of minority, the whip of minority whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to contribute to this motion. And if I may continue with where the Deputy Speaker stopped at. First, I want to thank Honorable Esther Pasaris for bringing this motion, Mr. Speaker. It's very important because this is the place that we need to decide and come up with proposals on how to govern ourselves, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we cannot make killing of women a normal issue. It's unacceptable, Madam Speaker. And I want to tell you that any man who kills a woman is a weak man. He's a useless man. He's not worth being called a man, Mr. Speaker. That is the truth of the matter. Because, Mr. Speaker, and even to make it worse, you are killing a woman who has trusted you, who has loved you, loves you, a woman who has shown faith in you. Then you dupe her, you take her to an Airbnb, then you kill her there, Mr. Speaker. That is an animal, that's not a man. We must describe those ones as animals, not men, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm shocked that in 2024 we are speaking about this matter. Because I have not yet recovered from what happened in my county one time, Mr. Speaker, where a lady called Sharon, who was expectant, who was almost at the delivery point, Mr. Speaker, was killed by people in a forest. Instead of allowing her to deliver the baby in a matter of weeks, I think, or days, and she was killed. The child inside her was killed. I have never recovered from that shock. And Mr. Speaker, now it is becoming a norm. Mr. Speaker, if this matter is not arrested, and the people who do that kind of heinous act don't face serious consequences, Mr. Speaker, it will be taken as business as usual. Mr. Speaker, there is no life without women in this world. There is no human being who is walking in this world who has not come through a woman, Madam Speaker. We are all here courtesy of women. We are in this world courtesy of women. If there were no women, there is no world, there is no life, Mr. Speaker. And you have the audacity to kill those people, maim them, rape them. Mr. Speaker, unless we come together as leaders and as people and eradicate that matter, Mr. Speaker, I don't think we are going to reach far as a country. So in conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I am fully behind the people who want to bring serious consequences to be faced by those people who are killing women. Why should you kill a woman? Why? What makes you kill a woman? Unless you have lost your head, unless you're a mad person. And you know, it's not even nowadays, it's not even about girls. I have seen old women being killed. I have seen middle-aged women being killed for reasons that we are unable to understand up to today. Mr. Speaker, it cannot be a sport. Killing women can never become a sport. It must have consequences because those are human souls that we are losing every day. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say that I remember there was legislation that was made in this House relating with gender violence. I don't know why they are not being more harsher than this, Mr. Speaker. We need to come up with a legislation that says if you kill a woman, you should be killed. If you kill a man, you should pay just 100 camels. Yeah, that's all. That's enough for a man. But if you kill a woman, because a woman is a factory, a woman is the one who produces men. Now you're killing the people who are supposed to bring life to us. If you kill a woman, Mr. Speaker, you must be killed also. Or you must face the death penalty. That should be the minimum that you should face. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I will again thank Madam Honorable Passaris. She has she could not bring this motion a better day than today when we are celebrating Valentine.
Sure.
It's the best day to discuss this matter, Mr. Speaker, because many women have lost their lives through love. People they have trusted, people they have, developed relationship with. So, Mr. Speaker, the House must rise to the occasion, and the institutions that are mandated to take action, like the police, the DCI, must do everything possible to make sure that any man who hurts a woman, not only killing, who hurts a woman, must face the full force of the law, Mr. Speaker. Killing now. Any man who hurts a woman, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to support that legislation, that he should be. Some of us, let me not say mine, because I know how I treat women. I treat them very well. So they should follow my example.
Hey, you guys. Thank you. As I give Honorable Achi, let me indicate that the screen is full of people who are not in the House. And please, our clerks, clear the lists. And also, I'm not seeing on the screen the honorable women on the screen. So please key in if you want to speak on this. Meanwhile, let me give Honorable Achi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I also want to thank you so much because you have been one of those male champions that we have seen for many years on issues of women. As I stand to support this motion and to really, really appreciate my leader, Honorable Esther Passaris, for bringing in this motion at a time when we talk of love, love that has become a dark love, love that has brought more darkness than the love we thought about, love that has removed the book of Timothy, chapter 13, from our faces and given us something else. Mr. Speaker, in Kenya today, we have robust laws. The framework is there on issues of gender. But on the 27th of January, Mr. Speaker, when women and men were coming out to just call upon the government to come in and see what is this that has just hit Kenya, that we can lose 10 women in January and more because we have more who we have not, we don't know whether they have also found themselves or their families have been able to go and report. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, the worrying trend is that we have normalized gender-based violence in Kenya. We have made it a very normal issue now. There is nothing as brutal, Mr. Speaker, as femicide. It's extreme. It is the worst violence any person can go through. And even when I look at the stories we are getting, it's not just in Kenya. You find a Kenyan who was in the US, you decide to brutal, kill your wife, kill your girlfriend, throw the girlfriend's body at the airport, and you just take a plane and come back to Kenya. And when you're in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, Kang'ethe walks into the cells and comes out and says, I just walked out. Then now you wonder, what just happened to Kenya? What happened to our security forces? Yes, I know people will start saying the women, but honestly, this is love. Nobody is pushing the other. Why would you do that? So for me, Mr. Speaker, the most worrying thing is that we must go back to the judiciary
and request the judiciary, Mr. Speaker, that if we have a case of someone who has raped, someone who has murdered, honestly, you don't need to give a bail to this person, because the moment you go back, and when I was listening to Lillian, Mheshimiwa, she is crying that we have someone who has just walked out of the cells, is now back in the village, and even the body is not yet buried of this woman. So you can imagine, Mr. Speaker, what this guy is saying, that he is okay, he is in control. There's nothing you can do. After all, he has gone to the cells of Homa Bay, and now he's back in the streets of Homa Bay, walking so gently without disregarding completely the fear he has just put to many of the members of that family that is mourning, but more importantly, just to imagine that we can be here listening. I want to request the CS internal security that in Homa Bay, since we have this case now, and they know the people, they know the chief, can first the chief be suspended, put aside for them to understand that case. Mr. Speaker, I would humbly also request that it is time the leadership to talk about it. Keeping quiet sends a very chilling fear in the country. It is important for them to raise a voice. And that voice will help for people to realize there are things that are happening that is wrong. We have given people, I want to finalize by just saying, as much as we have agreed people to walk into our airport, we have not told them to come and mayhem our girls because of what they want to achieve in their witchcrafts or any other things they are thinking. They want bodies, because you cannot just mayhem and cut somebody's head if you are not a witchcraft or a witch going to use it for your witchcraft, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I beg to support, and I really cry for the women of this country, and more importantly, please.
The Honorable Kimani.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance to add my voice to this discussion. And from the onset, I would like to congratulate the County Member of Parliament for Nairobi, the Honorable Esther Pasaris, for bringing this particular motion today. Honorable Speaker, it is disheartening, it is very painful that we have the men who should be the protectors of the society are the ones who are killing women. Even in war, Honorable Speaker, women were never killed. If you study the wars, even in the stories in the Bible, there is no time that people killed women and children. So the fact that in 2024 we have men who, if you look at them on the road, you'll think they have sane mind, or you might respect them on the road, taking this heinous action of this injustice on women is truly, truly, truly sad. And Honorable Speaker, if you listen to some of the arguments made, including on social media, saying, oh, the lady, for example, ate your money, they ate your transport money, so you send money for transport, they did not come. You are a fool to have sent money to someone for them to come. Because even this thinking, Honorable Speaker, that sex is only enjoyed by men is so false. If she wants to have sex, she is going to enjoy it too. And therefore, there is no reason why you should spend your money for someone who doesn't want to come to you. And the irony also, Honorable Speaker, if you listen to many women, they are saying men are not there to love them. They are saying the ratio between those who are in relationships and married and those who are not is actually not equal. So the excuse that men give that it is the woman on the wrong, she was wearing the wrong dress, she was walking alone at night, she took herself, is all lame excuses. And we must call them as it is and condemn it and say this nonsense must stop, Honorable Speaker. But even when we say that, we must address inequalities that exist. If we have young girls who have to sleep with men to have sanitary towels, then that's why even some of these problems start. Because for the voices of women to be heard, for something as basic as sanitary towel to our girls in secondary schools and primary school, we have to beg for it. They have to beg for it. Last session, the women of this house was paralyzed the house because money that was supposed to be allocated for sanitary towels for schools had not got there. So we have money to give condoms in public places, but we don't have money for sanitary towels for our girls. That's where the problem begins, Honorable Speaker. When women dare to run for politics, for example, Honorable Speaker, that's when the problem gets. We start asking them, who is your husband? Who have you slept with? Even when you find a lady in a lucrative office, you think that she must have slept with somebody for her to get to that office. And once we begin changing this story and this narrative and seeing women as competent people who can do so many things and they're able to do so many other things that men are not able to do, then we are going to have a conversation and a change in mind and heart. Yes, we have very many brilliant, in fact, if you will take even the mere ability of a woman to multitask and do so many things at the same time. You know, the women who here seated in this house, sometimes we stay with them here up to late, and some of them are expected to still go home and prepare meals for their husbands. You know, and this day when you're celebrating a love. So let us begin by a change in attitude, in attitude that women can be in positions of office, elected, or appointed. They can work in any office, in any profession, by merit, and not because they're so-and-so's girlfriend or they're sleeping so-and-so. And once we have that change of mindset and provide these basic facilities that we need to provide, for example, sanitary towels, then you're going to see a change in heart. And lastly, as Honorable, as the Minority Whip said, those that kill women, those that hurt women, those that slap women, those that beat them are cowards. If you really want to beat somebody, go get a man your match and beat him up if you want to prove a point. With that, I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Donya Doris. She in the house? No. We are just following our own queue here. So next is the Honorable Jonathan Ngen. Not in the house. Clear for me the list. So next is the Honorable Zamzam Chimba. Oh, sorry. Order. I did not know the Honorable Johanna was in the house. Proceed, Johanna, and then you'll come later. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also wish to add my voice to this sad situation that has been happening in our country. I think it is the first time in the history of our country when people who I really do not understand, Mr. Speaker, it's like a cult of individuals who, I don't know, they think they derive something from the death, cruel death of young children, young ladies. Mr. Speaker, I really wish to thank Mheshimiwa Pasaris, who is also in my committee, belongs to my committee, for bringing this particular topic and this issue so that the Kenyan people can understand, most importantly, that, and who also supported, who supported, Mr. Speaker, the issue of standing with ladies and women of this country, Mr. Speaker. That shows she's a very great lady who thinks widely and who cares about their daughters or her daughter. Mr. Speaker, I also have daughters. And when I see young women being killed, young women being exploited, young women done all sorts of manner of things, Mr. Speaker, I feel that something should be done in this country. Like what my colleagues have said, we saw some few years ago about deaths, cruel deaths of young ladies, like Chelele from Bomet, like Monica, like even the woman who was from Migori, who was expectant. Sharon. When you hear how she died, Mr. Speaker, you know, sometimes even there are some deaths which you can imagine how cruel or how long that death comes. You know, sometimes you feel that if you must die, you die in such a way that the time for death is so short. But you can imagine how Sharon must have felt through that moment when somebody is driving a knife on her stomach. Mr. Speaker, and then the latest, where a lady, somebody is dismembering somebody. I don't know if he dismembered that lady when she was still alive, cutting a piece of her hand, a piece of her leg, and then now approaching the head. Mr. Speaker, I don't know what kind of punitive measures. And when I saw, I must thank the lady judge who gave a ruling that put somebody behind bars. Mr. Speaker, I don't know why. Of course, they say the law is an ass. Why would you even give a murderer bail or bond? These are people who are supposed to stay behind bars for as long as the case is ongoing, until it is determined. But of course, you know, we have a constitution that gives people the right to have the right to bail and the right to come and stay around, hang around, kill witnesses, threaten witnesses. But Mr. Speaker, on this case of ladies being killed, I don't know what kind of punitive measures we should. I think, apart from even the Constitution itself, as members of Parliament, we need to give serious and punitive measures against these killers. You know, when you read the case of rape and defilement, Mr. Speaker, for those of us who know this law, the case of defilement is a little bit weaker than even the case of rape. And defilement is on children, young children below 18 years. Then you wonder, why are you giving somebody who defile young children below 18 years such an understanding? So, Mr. Speaker, I think as members of this House, and I wish Mheshimiwa Pasaris and the rest of the ladies in this House, including Mheshimiwa Beatrice, the great woman from Kericho, bring a law here that anybody who does anything wrong, defiling or killing a young lady, or a lady for that matter, should not be given any bail. They should rot in the police cells so that people can understand the morality and how to live in this world.
You made your point. Proceed, Honorable Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa niweze kutoa mchango wangu. Mheshimiwa Spika, inasikitisha sana hata baada ya taifa hili kupata uhuru, kina mama wa taifa hili bado hawana uhuru. Kina mama wanauliwa usiku na mchana. Sote tunajua mama ni pambo la ndoa, mama ni pambo la mwanamume, mama ni pambo la ndani ya nyumba. Mama ndio ambaye ndio mlezi. Sisi kina mama ndio tunaoshika mimba, tunakula udongo, tunakula matope, tunatapika, tunapitia hali yote ile duni ili kuweza kuzaa mtoto ambaye pengine ni mtoto wa kiume. Inasikitisha Mheshimiwa Spika, leo mama anadhalilika katika taifa hili. Na kusikitika zaidi ni kuwa hata waziri ambaye ni waziri wa usalama hajatoka kuzungumzia mambo haya yanayotendeka. Na mimi napenda hata tuweze kumuita ndani ya bunge hili aweze kutuambia visa hivi ambavyo vimetokea, watoto wetu wa kike wameuliwa. Tumesikia story ya Sharon, ilitugusa sisi sote. Juzi Mombasa kuna mwanamke mama mtu mzima amechinjwa kama vile unavyochinja ng'ombe na mjukuu wake wa kiume. Lakini mambo haya yanapelekwa chini ya maji. Mambo haya hayazungumziwi Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi ningependa waziri wa usalama aje hapa atuambie anafanya kitu gani kuhakikisha kuwa visa hivi vinaweza kuchukuliwa hatua na mambo haya yakaisha Mheshimiwa Spika. Mheshimiwa Spika, kuna mambo mengi ambayo yanatendeka ndani ya social media, kwenye mitandao. Sisi kina mama tunatukanwa. tunatukanwa na watu tunawajua, atakupa matusi mpaka yale ya mvunguni. Roho zetu ni ndogo, roho zetu ni dhaifu, Mheshimiwa Spika. Unapata mtu, kuna watu wengi wametoka kwenye mtandao, ameenda amefunga kamba, amejiua kwa sababu yale mambo ambayo anaambiwa kwenye social media, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni mambo ya kumdhuru, ni mambo ambayo yanamtoa ile hadhi yake, ni mambo ambayo yanamsumbua hata usingizi hawezi kupata, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ndio mambo ambayo sisi ndani ya bunge hili inafaa tuangalie, Mheshimiwa Spika. Kuna watu hata kama kuna freedom ya speech, Mheshimiwa Spika, haya mambo yamefika mbali. Na leo watoto wetu wanaitwa kwenye mtandao. Hawa ambao unaona wameuawa, Mheshimiwa Spika, ni watoto ambao wametongozwa kwenye mtandao. Mtu anampigia simu ama anamchat, akishamchat anamwambia njoo mahali fulani, kisha anachukua advantage kuwa yule amekuja, anamuua kiukatili, anatoa sehemu za mwili, anaondoka nazo, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na la kutamausha, serikali imenyamaza. Serikali imenyamaza, Spika. Mimi kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa, mimi nasikia uchungu sana. Ni wakati sasa serikali ianze kuchukua hatua. Ni wakati ambapo serikali ianze kusikiza sauti za kina mama. Mimi nimekuwa na tena, mimi nataka kuwapongeza sana wale wabunge wanaume walioko ndani ya bunge hii wakati huu ambapo tunatoa huu mjadala. Nimshukuru ndugu yangu Junet, nimeona Kiare pale, nimeona na wabunge wanaume. Nyinyi mmesimama na kina mama, na mimi leo nawapongeza. Nawapongeza, bunge limebaki tupu. Watakuja na mijadala yao, watataka sisi kina mama tuwatetee, sisi tunauliwa. Tutasimama na wale viongozi ambao wanasimama na kina mama, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na ni wakati ambapo tuanze kuzungumza kwa sauti moja. Mwanamke anafaa heshimiwe, mtoto wa kike anafaa athaminike. Haya mauaji tunasema yaweze kusitishwa. Tumezungumza tukilalamika siku zote, Mheshimiwa Spika. Nenda katika makoti yetu, Mheshimiwa Spika, kesi zimejaa. Mtoto amelawitiwa, mtoto mdogo, mtoto ameuawa, lakini kwa sababu hata wale majaji wa kutosha pia hatuna. Na ndio mimi kama mama kaunti namlilia Chief Justice wetu kule Mombasa, tuongezee majaji. Hizi kesi ziko, babu amelawiti mjukuu wake, ametoka yuko kule anauza barafu, mtoto anakaa na aibu, mtoto wa class 6 wa skuli. Yule mzee yuko nje tu, anacheza ile keram, anafanya mambo yake anamwendea. Yule wa Sharon tunaona kule nje wako tu, hatujapata mtu paka sasa ambaye alimuua, wala kesi jaamuliwa kivovote vile. Yule mama amekufa na mtoto wake. Mheshimiwa Spika, kama mama kaunti mimi nasema tuweke sheria, mwenye kuua auliwe, mwenye kulawiti mtoto mdogo akatwe dude lake. Mheshimiwa Spika, tusipokwenda namna hiyo, hii watu watakuwa wakiendelea kila siku wanalawiti watoto, wanaua kina mama, na wao wanakaa wakinywa kahawa wakijisikia vizuri mahali wako. Mheshimiwa Spika, sisi tunasema jicho kwa jicho, sikio kwa sikio. Ukiua na wewe uwawe, ukilawiti na wewe ukatwe dude lake. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
The Honorable John Mutunga.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, for this opportunity to also add my voice to this very important debate. Honourable Speaker, this matter is a matter of the society, it's a matter of the family, it's not a women issue. It's a very, very important issue that is affecting our country at this point in time. I wish to thank the two honourable ladies who have contributed to this debate to bring up this motion for discussion. Honourable Speaker, the debate is referred to as femicide. And the femicide has the connotation of a woman or women being killed by men or girls being killed by men. Honourable Speaker, no more men would never hurt a woman. In fact, I want to categorically say that even abnormal men, madmen, don't kill women. We have seen madmen all over, and we have never seen a madman associated with killing a woman. I want to thank the media for bringing out the match that they have been able to. And I want to purposely ask the media to do more than they have done, because we need some of these issues highlighted. We need statistics brought to the fore. We need cases mentioned specifically. And we need progress also posted so that we may be able to see what is happening to some of these cases. Honourable Speaker, we have seen cases where women are not only killed, but they are dismembered, and that is not the end. They are also put in bags and thrown out. We have seen women killed, and then parts of their body, the hand gets missing. We have seen women being thrown out of windows like pieces of rubbish. We have seen women mistreated in this country. And we have not seen reports from other countries which appears to depict Kenya having this particular problem. Honourable Speaker, we should not demonize Airbnbs, because Airbnbs have been existing for a very long time. I don't think there is anything wrong with Airbnbs. I think there is something wrong with the society. There is something wrong with some of those people who have taken to this killing. The peculiarity of this killing, Honourable Speaker, is that a lot more of it is happening to close people. People are close to each other, to friends, to families, to couples, to even people who say they are in love. Honourable Speaker, and again, another peculiarity about the cases we are seeing is that even the matters that land in court, the penalties are not spelled out early enough, soon enough for us to realize that the seriousness in this matter. Honourable Speaker, something is terribly wrong. And as a House of Parliament, we need to do something in our position. We need to come up with a law that is going to help and protect our children, our mothers, and our wives. Honourable Speaker, the apparent poisoning of the mind through alcoholism and substance abuse is one of the issues attributed to this. We are having parties in private houses. We are having parties that lead to anything. And Honourable Speaker, I need to caution our young women for one thing. Number one, when you get into a relationship, don't keep it too secret, because keeping it secret enables the killer to propagate to basically adjudicate their plan. Do not keep it to let people know. There is nothing absolutely wrong with being in a relationship. Let people know that you're in a relationship. Honourable Speaker, the other important thing that is also important, we need to know, is that know your friends very well. If you see someone who doesn't want to be known, who is a child of so and so and therefore does not need to be known, avoid like poison, because that person is not real. Honourable Speaker, abstain from parties in private residences for the young people, especially the young ladies. And should the parties turn nasty, please take off, save your life, run away. Because that is what is happening, because some of these parties, Honourable Speaker, as we read in the papers sometimes, they turn nasty and then people kill each other. If you are not a substance user and you are forced to use it, if you refuse to use it, you can even be killed. We have a problem in this country. We are calling up our law enforcement entities to take this matter up seriously, especially substance abuse. There is widespread substance abuse in this country that needs to be contained. And containment will also not only save our women and our children and our daughters, it will also save the nation. Substance is being used anywhere, and therefore something needs to be done. Honourable Speaker, with those very few remarks, I wish to support this particular motion.
The Honourable Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is indeed difficult to discuss such a topic because something is dreadfully amiss in our society. I was forced to think that sometimes some people are badly cultured. But I think apart from being badly cultured, they have some criminal agents in their mind, some gene. Because how can anybody start thinking to just kill somebody because either they dislike that gender or they just hate them, or just that is just criminal. I stand here as a mother of twins, girls, and as an aunt to various nieces, and a girlfriend to various women MPs here and those that I schooled with. And I look at every woman with a lot of adoration. And I look at every woman and thank God for coming up with women in this world. Women run the world. And if we scare them, that we walk every day and know that we are insecure, that even sometimes I wonder if the DCI, if all the agents of security in this world, in this country, are awake. Do these people have daughters that we keep reading as if it's a storybook, and it is not a storybook. It is indeed happening in our country. We have to stamp down and bring out all the perpetrators, let them be behind bars, and something serious to take place, like maybe even, because some of them we have had have been arrested at the airport. Some of them were running away. And some of them, if they are arrested, must be having friends or cartels or people they do this business with. Why target girls? I even say it is not good to target anybody. There is nothing that can justify anyone being killed. I have been reading some comments. Some people say, hey, you girls, slay queens, you are too much. You are taxing us. You can never justify why anybody was killed. And I can never say that somebody was killed because. I can never. So I bleed, I cry with every family that has lost their daughter in that manner. And I just want to not allow any tolerance of any manner. Our government must wake up and do everything in a speed that is acceptable, because this deliberate killing of women has been happening, and we read on newspapers like it is just a day that happens, another day, and then we look for another day again of this kind of stories and just ignore. I think it is time everybody, whether a man or a woman, should say no to femicide. If you don't do it, it will be knocking your door the next day, and you will now maybe understand why it is not okay to okay such kind of criminal actions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable John Waweru.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you, and I wish you a happy new year, because this is the first time you are presiding over a session. Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Honorable Member, County MP for Nairobi, Honorable Esther Passaris. I want to thank Kewopa, under the leadership of Honorable Leah, and all the women of this Parliament who have turned this Valentine's Day into a day of reflection. Mr. Speaker, there's a lot to reflect on. Mr. Speaker, over the lunch break, I had a Valentine's lunch with over 300 leaders from the Dagoretti South constituency. It was a great celebration, because to my mind, Mr. Speaker, of all God's creation, I cannot imagine of a more beautiful creation than the women that God created. And I rise, Mr. Speaker, to assure the ladies in this house that they are men who value women. I stand here to assure you that in Kenya, we have men who value women, not only the women of Kenya, but of all of God's creation. Mr. Speaker, the statistics are alarming. We needed to be called to order. We are being told that Kenya is ranking among the highest, among the highest countries when it comes to femicide. Mr. Speaker, this is not what Kenya would be proud of. So when we bring this topic to the House, Mr. Speaker, we are talking about the image of a country that is just about to be known for killing its women. Mr. Speaker, I would not want us to waste this opportunity that we have as a House to make it a session of lamentation. It ought to be a session where we decide what it is that we've got to do going ahead, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the action of killing is the final act in a long trail of things that happens before someone premeditates to kill an individual. But it all starts with a thought. It starts in the mind. And Mr. Speaker, what we are seeing, we would not be wrong to say that this is a very sick country. Mr. Speaker, if you want us to verify that, you need to just go to our social media. Look at the conversations that are happening on the interwebs. See how nasty and toxic this country has become, that an individual will take up upon an individual that they know nothing of to tear them down on social media. It tells you of the mental state of this country, Mr. Speaker. So before we get to killing the women and the girls, We started out by being an extremely mentally sick nation, Mr. Speaker. So as we treat this, as we seek for a remedy, Mr. Speaker, we'll need to have a conversation on the mental health of this country. What is our national psyche? Mr. Speaker, we also will need to seek innovative approaches. The approaches can be supported by emerging technologies, Mr. Speaker. As we speak today, we do not have any data that would indicate as to who these killers are and what signs we should be looking out for in an individual who is predisposed to be a killer. Mr. Speaker, we need to seek some innovative approaches. But mostly, Mr. Speaker, there is the element of negative masculinity. That the power and the strength that men have been given that was supposed to protect their women and children is now being misused, Mr. Speaker. So we have to ask ourselves, who is going to be the killer of women in the year 2030? Who is that young boy we are bringing up? What is the conversation we are having around the boy child? Because, Mr. Speaker, the boy child we are bringing up today might end up to be a nastier child than the men who are killing today. Allow me to conclude, Mr. Speaker, by saying that if we draw a dichotomy between men and women and point a finger to one gender, we shall be doing the most nasty thing, because we need that man to be the protector of the girl and the woman. We need to bring up that boy who will sing that song of Solomon, Mr. Speaker. You are a poet. You know Solomon celebrating his women. And on this Valentine's Day, we want to bring up that man who shall sing like Solomon and say, who is that young woman? She shines out like the dawn. She is pretty as the moon. She is bright as the sun. She is awesome as the stars in the sky. And that is what I see in a woman when I look at one. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, the poet. Let's have the Honorable Wilberforce Oundo.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I stand here today to stand with the women of this country, the women of the world, and the women of God. Honorable Speaker, any life lost is one life lost too many. There's no justifiable reason, there's no justifiable cause for anybody to attempt to kill anybody, be it a man or a woman. More so, Honorable Speaker, where we come from, women are treated as the tender gender, are treated with special attention, and any thought of killing a woman is considered repugnant, is considered against the norms, is considered against anything that is considered bad in this country. Honorable Speaker, I feel sorry for the young girls who are lured in this kind of arrangement and end up in tears, end up with missing body parts, while they went there to enjoy themselves like anybody else. And the advice I want to give to the men, the young men, so to speak, it doesn't have to be by force. It doesn't have to end in such a manner. Even if you are denied, there is always another opportunity, there's always another day. There is no reason at all to attempt to molest and kill anybody else. Honorable Speaker, as we stand here today, we must call the security agencies to order. Many of these crimes are committed, and many of those people who commit these crimes go scot-free. They are never apprehended, they are never punished. It is important the security agencies take their work seriously, because there is no crime that can fail to be detected and punished. Any crime that is committed, there is always a trace, there is always circumstantial evidence to enable any of the security agencies identify these criminals. Honorable Speaker, as we talk about these issues, we must therefore invest in forensic research. We must invest in evidence gathering to ensure that we avoid these kind of things. Honorable Speaker, at one time, the government invested heavily in CCTVs and monitoring systems. Where have they gone? That they are unable to track any movements of any criminals of this nature. Honorable Speaker, as we stand here, we changed our constitution in 2010 that allowed every person accused of any offense to be given bail. Probably it's high time the judiciary needs to go back and relook at what are the terms and conditions that a person who has committed a crime is given bail. Many times, Honorable Speaker, crimes are committed, those who are accused are given bail the same day, they go back to intimidate the same victims they have committed a crime against. So it becomes now a vicious cycle. He will commit a crime, go get charged in court, he's released, he goes and threatens, commits more crimes. Honorable Speaker, what we are seeing, Honorable Speaker, are the few cases that have been reported. There are so many cases that go unreported because of fear and the stigma associated with these cases. We want to urge the women wherever you are, even the men, when you are molested, when you are a victim, speak out, report immediately. But as I conclude, Honorable Speaker, we have a saying in my community, and allow me to quote this, that is Simba Ikona Bakwane. Loosely translated, it means you only go where you can rhyme. So it's a rallying call to both the boys and the girls, be careful where you fall in love. We used to say during our days that love is blind, but honestly speaking, it should not blind you into death. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well. The Honorable Dorothy Ikaria.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I want to join the women in this House and the women in this country in reflecting on the issues that are touching directly on us. And Honorable Speaker, I want to start by thanking Honorable Mheshimiwa Esther Passaris for moving this very, very important motion for us to discuss and reflect on this evening. Honorable Speaker, death is final. When I say that, Honorable Speaker, I want to say my heart goes to all the parents who have lost their loved ones through these killings that have taken place in this country during this time. Honorable Speaker, I want to reflect and remember very promising young girls. One, Eve Wangeshi, the Egerton girl, who was butchered with an axe. I want to remember Monica Kemani, a lady whose judgment was just the other day, who was killed in the most uncouth manner, butchered and a throat slit. I want to remember Scarlett Wow. I want to remember a young, promising university girl, Rita Waeni. And the list is endless. Honorable Speaker, these young girls and the many women who have lost their lives have died very, very painful deaths. Honorable Speaker, it is very evident that they have not only died quietly, but they have been butchered. Real butchering, Honorable Speaker, because when you see somebody's head being slit and separated from the body, we wonder if it is a normal person who has done that, or if it is somebody under very, very serious influence, either drugs or completely intoxicated, such that you can be able to take a saw and slit a hand and separate it from the body from someone that you are going to make love to. Honorable Speaker, this society has lost it completely. Because, Honorable Speaker, the time we were growing, I have never witnessed one single person, man or woman, being killed by a lover. Honorable Speaker, we are talking of jilted lovers, we are talking of dealers, we are talking of endless things that these young people think they'll end the suffering that they are going through. But, Honorable Speaker, I want to call upon the young men in our society. Killing will not solve your problems. Killing a woman is cowardice. Killing a woman is like wanting to end a generation. Because, Honorable Speaker, we are wondering, when all these girls are killed, where will children ever come from? Honorable Speaker, it's very painful because right now as we speak, according to a report by the Nation Media dated 6th January 2024, this is data from the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. It shows that they received 400 serious defilement and rape cases, and majority of them being women aged 75 and girls as young as 2 months. Honorable Speaker, as if that is not enough, this same statistic is showing that femicide in the year 2023, at least 152 women were killed, the highest in the past 5 years. Honorable Speaker, I want to say, without missing my words, if the various security agencies don't take action and apprehend these evil people in the society, Honorable Speaker, we are sitting on a time bomb. Honorable Speaker, all that said, I also want to thank the security agencies and more so the Ministry of Interior, because, Honorable Speaker, we cannot rush what they are doing.
You have had your bites. The Honorable Dick Maungu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I also want to add my voice to this great debate, first and foremost, by applauding our sister, Honorable Pasaris, for coming up with a motion that is timely at a time when the country is in many questions. Mr. Speaker, we did clear last year with such happenings and
The position of a woman is so clear. God has placed a woman in a place of honor. That is elaborate in that incident where our Virgin Mary conceived the Savior Jesus without physical interference of a man. That alone shows the honor that God gives the woman, Honorable Speaker. We could conceive without physical interference of a man. If those men were there that day, I don't know what they would have done to the Virgin Mary, Honorable Speaker. But thank God it happened those days. So, Honorable Speaker, whatever is happening in Kenya should not be, and I like it when Honorable Junet was putting it, like those men should not be called men. Those are animals. They have lost humanity. They are